If you've been researching anger and you've landed at my podcast, you're probably in a little bit of pain. Anger is very, very uncomfortable to experience, and a lot has to happen in one's life to reach a place where they feel so discontented with this feeling that you actually research help about that. Or maybe there's someone in your life that's super angry and you are the recipient of that anger. That is difficult. It's hard. It's exhausting. So thank you for reaching out and coming to this podcast. I promise you, when you listen to the skills and tools I'm going to share, you will have a lot of answers to your questions. Welcome to the Best Years Podcast. This is Dr. Darlene at whatstopsyou.com, speaking to Generation X and baby boomers who want more. I'll share power, skills, and tools with you to get your mojo back on a conscious and unconscious level. Be ready for real and lasting change. What causes sudden outbursts of anger? I know. Because she said that, or he did that, or they took my stuff, or this happened. That's why I'm angry. And if they'd stop it, I'd stop being angry right now. We have all learned in Psych 101 that blaming doesn't work. Blaming people and not taking ownership doesn't work. It's difficult to do it though. I can't stand it. I want to blame them because if I could, I would have a better life. If they would just stop doing that or start doing this, then I'd have a better life. Yes. And if I had one wish, rubbing on a genie, and out the bottle they came, I would ask that I could change other people. Wouldn't that be amazing? It'd be awesome. I've not seen a genie yet, still looking. And so, blame's not going to work. Okay, what works better than blame? What are we going to do instead? How to control anger outbursts. How to do it? Well, the first step is understanding what anger is. I've got 7 quick points for you in this quick podcast. If you want to write these down, there's 7 things that anger is, and when you understand that, you'll go, and I'm telling you, your anger will shift by the end of this podcast. You may need to listen to it a couple times until you get it, but when you get it, your anger is going to shift and you'll have more control in your life. You'll have more freedom and power and safety, I promise. So understand these 7 points. Number 1 is depression is anger turned inward. Okay, so anger, we just talked about anger. When we get the red face and the veins sticking out our neck and our heart rates are up and our vital signs are off. Well, wait. So if that goes inward, it's depression. So that's just a little stat for you. So when you see depressed people, you'll now know more about that. So that's kind of a side note on this, but an interesting stat on anger. Number 2, so important. Anger is a second emotion, not the first emotion. You don't go from happy, lovely, thriving to anger. It doesn't work that way. Yes, I do. I go that fast from happy to anger. Okay, well, the facts are you're just going super fast from the fine state to the anger. And the facts are if you slow it down, there's a feeling that occurs before the anger. No, it doesn't. It just happens. No, it doesn't. Your anger comes from, my dog just ran out of the room because I slapped my hands together. She's like the vibration police, and if it's not really cool around me, then she walks out. Bye, Tink. So, okay, I'm kind of intense here talking about this. So, what feelings occurred before the anger? For example, sadness, taken advantage of, feeling stupid, rejection, disrespected. These are awful. Helpless, feeling out of control. Who likes any of those? And one that I'm learning is being mad at myself. I teach that, but I've experienced it. So I'm honestly, here's the truth. I'm really kind of angry at someone right now, and that's not typical for me. I've trained in anger and done groups and workshops for maybe thousands. But for me, anger's not one thing I do a lot, but I'm super angry lately. And as I stop and say, well, what's going on for me? What's underneath the anger? What is it? Well, I was taken advantage of. What's underneath that? I'm sad. I feel lost. What's underneath that? And if I keep going, I do feel stupid because someone did take terrible advantage of me. And I feel rejected and disrespect. I've got all these. And ultimately, I'm just super mad at myself. Well, that's a whole nother subject. Because now when we find what's under the anger, that's your therapy. It isn't that you focus on anger anymore. You go now to, Darlene's mad at herself. Because I've never had that experience of someone lying to me. And it's weird. So that's a whole bunch of, I got to talk to my colleagues about that. Not the anger, but what's underneath the anger, that's where you need to focus. Interesting, yeah? Okay, obviously I've got lots more on my website and all. But for today, let's go to number 3. What's the intent of the anger? What do you get from being angry? What do you get? I don't get anything, I'm just angry. Well, what's underneath unconsciously that you're trying to get through the anger? Well, for most people, they get awareness. If you took the anger away, they wouldn't be aware anymore, which could be dangerous, right? How about, taking action? Underneath my anger, it takes action. I march down to that principal and I tell them off because they're not going to treat my kid that way. Or we take action, we get angry at our adult children to say, no, you don't get to blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to take action. Or, hey, that's what lawsuits are about. You take action, sometimes that might have to happen. You could get angry, or you could just take appropriate action. But the anger's trying to get you to take action or be aware, trying to keep you safe. Yes, does this make sense? So we don't want to say, anger, go away. Lots of techniques for anger use. Slap your wrist every time you get angry. Count to 10 before you get angry. You know what? I don't do those. And those are probably good at some level. I just more proficiently, what we're doing here will take care of this a lot more because we're not telling the anger to go away. In fact, I'm saying keep your anger until you find another way to be safe, or another way to take action, or another way to be aware, or another way to set boundaries. Because that's what your anger's trying to do. So thank you, anger. We want to listen to your anger and give it what it wants. So first of all, you got to find out what it wants underneath. What's the first emotion? And then what's it trying to do for us? These are kind of deep topics. If you've worked with me before, you'll go, oh yeah, okay, thank you, that's right. And if this is the first time you've listened to me, trust me, you'll get this. There's a learning curve to this type of thinking about the conscious mind versus the unconscious. And we're looking at what's really going on unconsciously underneath the anger. Number 4, kind of a base side note is that we have core emotions we all want, which is freedom, safety, control, and power. So like I said, this is number 4. If I had a room of 1,000 people and I said, raise your hand if you would like freedom in your life. We have 100% of people raising their hand. How many of you want to have emotionally and physical safety? 100%. How many of you want control in your life? Now, control, I don't mean control freak. I mean, I want to control my bladder. Yeah, that kind of control. I want to control what I eat. And wouldn't it be cool to control how I feel? That's control equals choice here. So that's the kind of control when I talk about it being positive. Control equals choice is what I'm talking about. And I want that, and so do 1,000 people. How many of you want power? And by power, I mean the power of creation, the power of thoughts, not power over others and things, but that internal power of choice and control. They kind of go together here. So those are the core emotions. And when we don't have those, many people will resort to anger to try, in air quotes, to try to get their power back. And it doesn't usually work. because the anger starts to eat the person up. So when we're mad at someone else and we're continually being angry, it's like being mad at a snake. And it bites you, and then I'm mad at the venom, but it's not going to fix the venom. I have to take action. So angry tries to be useful, doesn't really work. What works better is to look underneath what's going on and notice that if we feel like we're off these core emotions, then one choice is anger. That doesn't work. The best choice is taking actions towards getting those in a new and different way. Maybe you haven't thought about before. Number 5. I love one-liners. Every time you are angry, I promise you, it's because you feel that something is being taken away from you. When we're angry, it's because we perceive that something's being taken away from us, such as our freedom and the above core emotions, such as our stuff. She took my stuff. They took our identity because they're dissing on us or they're gossiping, so I'm angry at her. So it's like our identity is being taken away. That's awful. That's why I'm so mad at you, because you're talking so badly about me to people and telling people all of these things that are true. So I'm angry because I feel like something's been taken away from me, and that is my identity or my self-esteem. It can be money. What is it that you feel is being taken away from you in these moments of anger? Number 6. Inside your body somewhere, according to the anatomy of your psyche, is a cup. And it says anger on it. It's labeled. By the way, you have a cup in there too that says fear. And God put the cups in you, and He wants you to have a cup of anger. Because why? Because it prompts you to get your butt up. It prompts you to take action. But what happens is if there's too much anger and it flows over the top of your cup, ouch on you. Now it's just destroying you. It's making you all wired up and messed up. So a cup of anger is appropriate, just a little, and too much is ouchy. Now on this cup of fear, which is a whole nother podcast, is fear is also necessary in one cup. We want to have fear of playing in the freeway and having sleepovers in the middle of the freeway. And so fear freezes you. So you only want one cup to freeze you to go, okay, I'm not doing that. But if you have too much fear, it freezes you completely where you're stopped and you can't even hit the guy back that's beating you up, or you can't make decisions fast because you're frozen. Yes, fear is frozen. Another podcast. But anger prompts you to take action with that one cup. Too much, you go in circles. The action, right? Think about it. Your anger goes in circles. Kind of works, kind of doesn't. And then you just go in circles. Number 7 is a point I wanted to make. Is I worked at a secure delinquent facility, and we did workshops and training with those there. And we did a group with a group of girls that were raped. And we actually brought them in from other facilities. So we had about 15 girls, about 14, 13 years old, that were raped. Actually, I think there were older ones. This was a long time ago. I think there were some 18, 20-year-olds as well. And I was a student at the time studying and observing. And the consensus was, the psychological consensus is many women who are raped, girls and women, they don't ever get angry. So when you do treatment with them, you actually teach them to be angry at their perpetrator. Interesting, isn't it? So instead of rewinding anger, we encourage anger because they don't even have a cup of anger, and they blame themselves for what's going on and what happened instead of blaming him. Now, at the first of this podcast, I said blame doesn't work. This time it works with one cup. To say, don't ever do that to me again. Don't ever. I am worth things and you cannot touch me. And to muster up that anger was so appropriate. that helped the girls overcome by standing up and yelling at this imaginary perpetrator that we had imagine sitting in front of them. So, as you take a big breath, I'd like you to think of a time you were angry. There are 5 steps to this little exercise, and then we're done for today. Think of a time you were angry. Replay it. Got it? Number 2, what is the first emotion under the anger? What's the first emotion, if you're replaying it, that really, really happened? And they're usually kind of little kid feelings like sad, lonely, rejected. So if you're a big, strong man going through this process, realize there's a little you inside that's got these feelings in. So as you acknowledge them, how amazing that they're going to be heard, maybe for the first time in your life. These little child feelings are going to be really acknowledged about what happened when you were angry this last time. So take a moment. What is the first emotion or the second emotion? Number 3, what's the positive intent of your anger? What was it trying to accomplish down underneath it all? To take action, awareness, etc. Number 4, what's being taken away from you? Because the anger came after you felt like something was being taken away from you. And number 5, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to act differently to accomplish the same outcome that the anger is trying to do? What power do we have in understanding that the treatment for anger isn't about anger? The treatment for anger is to treat those little child feelings underneath and hold them in your hand and recognize them. Now you can go online and research rejection, mad at myself, taken advantage of. That, when you treat that, your anger's no longer necessary. So thank your anger for trying to help you. And now it's guided you to what's really, really going on. I would love to see you eye to eye. I would love to hear feedback about how this has helped you and how this made sense to you, or how you're working on understanding this and where you are in the process of learning. So comment below and let me know what you thought about what I've said. And of course, if you like what you've heard and it was helpful, then please subscribe to my channel. There's much, much, much more on this topic and many more. So thanks for joining, and we'll talk soon. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to my channel so we can hang out. Also go to www.whatstopsyou.com for notes to this podcast and learn more power skills to indeed live the best years of your life.